could be more Australian than a bluestone homestead, a sheep station? Well, what about the new Subaru Forester? Forester comes with one drivetrain, with a CVT and all-wheel drive. All Foresters are all-wheel drive, and it comes in 4 models. There's also a generous range of colours too. And because I've got the key in my pocket, I can walk up, put my hand into the handle and pull the door open. It's unlocked, taken the mirrors out and woken the car up. Inside, Forester is incredibly generous for space. All the surfaces are incredibly soft and luxurious, and I especially like this patterned surface here on the dash. It's kind of rubbery and it's just got the most beautiful texture. We've got the several screens. The one up the top is the one that shows the split screen camera. The reversing camera comes up down here also. This is your infotainment system, and because this is the top model, this gets the 8-inch screen. Split zone air conditioning, CVT, and then down below that is the important Xmode. Now Xmode is the one that you use off-road, and because this is the top model, it has 2 modes. Slightly awful roads and really awful roads. Now you can do the same thing in the other models, but you have to turn the traction control mode off if you get into real strife, and it allows the wheels to kind of do their stuff. The front seat is set up for a particularly tall person, but even with the front seat set up for a tall person, there's still about 6 inches between my knees and the back seat, and my feet go right under, so it feels like there's plenty of room. This cabin is absolutely voluminous. And around the back, because I've got my key in the pocket, I just give the button a press, and this automatic tailgate opens twice as fast as the old Forester. And under the generous cargo compartment's floor is a full-size spare. Now that's really important for people that want to feel completely safe on the road. Why? Because a space saver spare is limited to 80, and the puncture repair kits almost never work. Now I can also lock the doors by simply pressing the lock button. The system will lock, close the door, and remember, it's in half the time that the old Forester used to do it. So you can see inside the car there is so much room, and Rob, who's what, 6'2", 6'3", I mean there's got to be 8 inches above Rob's head. 8 inches
with the sunroof.
With the sunroof. Now the car is so clever that there's a little camera just here that registers your face. You've got to go through a process, but it registers your face, and then it will change the seats and the mirrors to suit the individual's face. Once upon a time, only did that with a key, which I think is just extraordinary. The ride is absolutely brilliant. We were on some pretty awful roads yesterday, and even with the deepest ruts and the deepest potholes, this thing still rode like a limousine. I mean, I was pretty impressed. I think we were both pretty impressed. The engine, the 2.5 engine, still has a lot of poke. A tiny little turbo wouldn't have killed it, but nonetheless it's still got plenty of poke, and the CVT will simulate gear ratios when you really stick the boot in. It's got SI drive, which makes the drive a little bit more interesting, and this top model has radar cruise control, which I'm now going to activate, and there it is. So I can take my foot back now, and it'll just stay at 100 kilometers an hour all day and all night, unless, which is Rob's pet hate, the person in front decides to slow down to 80 and you haven't noticed. I think Subaru have done a really great effort. I quite like the looks, though it's not what I would call stunning by any means. On the highway, the ride is good, as I said, but the cabin is also fairly quiet. Now, considering this is one of those awful kind of coarse chipped surfaces, there is more noise than what you get on the smooth, super smooth tarmac, but nonetheless it's still pretty quiet. They've made the body more rigid, they've made the front more responsive, they've changed the steering, that's more responsive. All in all, this is a pretty good effort, and it's perfect for someone that wants a city car size vehicle, or not much bigger than city car size vehicle. Still has room for 5 adults in comfort, maybe not on a long trip, and for a reasonable price. So these cars start at 33,000 and some change, and the top one is 40 something.
41 something.
Yeah, 41 something.
Plus
on roads. The interior, I think, looks great. Look, it's not stunning, but the materials all just feel so deliciously soft, luxurious. There's no lumbar support on the driver's seat, which I thought was very strange. You can't adjust it, but the seats are incredibly comfortable.
Yeah.
And in fact, I would go so far as to say the ride and comfort is luxurious.
For the price, absolutely.
For the price, yeah, well, it's always for the price, is luxurious. And you can see we've been driving through some of the most beautiful Australian countryside. Look at that out there. Look at that. Can you see that out there? Green. Look at it. Beautiful. Bit of water laying around, so they've had some rain down here. And that's what this car's built for. This car's built to take a family, or a couple and a couple of their friends, on a weekend away. The boot is certainly big enough for luggage for four, certainly for a weekend away. In fact, this is a lifestyle vehicle. Remember, this is an all-wheel drive, and Subaru showed us last night some off-road footage. This thing was up to its axles in mud just about. Put the Xmode on, put it in deep mud and snow, and this thing just climbed out of that mud like it was normal old tarmac. It really is an incredibly capable vehicle. I'm going to rate Subaru Forester, and it probably won't surprise you that this is going to get 8.5 out of 10. It has Apple CarPlay, it has Android Auto, it has a full suite of safety gear. Eyesight, do yourself a favour, go to Subaru's website and investigate Eyesight. That safety suite is just about, again, best in class, and the reason for that is it uses stereo cameras. And that's all from historic Mt Sturgeon Homestead and the Subaru Forester. There's a lot to be said for this car. It is beautiful on the road, it is fantastic off the road. You can't feel any of those awful ruts and undulations. Potholes were soaked up. This thing had an absolutely luxurious ride. It really was. The ride was sensational. The steering is sharpish, and even with off-road tyres, this thing just handled brilliantly. Let me know in the comments what you think, and as usual, subscribe, but this time the button's above Mt Sturgeon.